Okay, students. So, welcome to another lecture of the ongoing series, that is the Introduction to Microbial Diversity. In the last lecture, I have been giving you a detailed concept on the early attempts of classification, and also I have taught you about the binomial nomenclature and the advantages of binomial nomenclature. How do we name a organism? How can we name an organism? And what are the typical international codes that are used for naming plants, specifically plants, then animals, then for prokaryotes or for bacteria also I have told you there is a particular naming classification and there is an international code. For viruses also have told you. So this was done in the previous lecture. So continuing with that lecture, this will go into a separate video. So let's go into the Whittaker's five kingdom system. This is a very important lecture that will be for your syllabus and also for your exams. So do understand what does this Whittaker's five kingdom classification means and what was it, starting from its overview and everything I'm going to teach you. So please stay with me, and any problem, just comment me, I will be there to help you. And so let's start. So, who was actually R.H. Whittaker and why did this five kingdom system uh, come into play? I have already described you. If you have not seen my previous lecture, then please go into the lecture series. I'm telling you the number series, also lecture 3. You can go and check out the lecture 3. I will be giving you the link in the above description, in the above in the series, in the see in the screen. You can see, you can go and click the link and you can see this lecture where I have already told you what was the utility and what was the requirement for this five kingdom system, because I have dealt with the earlier classification attempts. So R.H. Whittaker was, his full name was Robert Harding Whittaker. In the year of 1920 to 1980, he was an American plant ecologist. Okay, he is most renowned for proposing the five kingdom classification system. Now he is he was behind the introduction of this system. So obviously he is very much renowned person because of this introduction of this five kingdom classification in the year of 1969. Now, Whittaker's system was a significant improvement over earlier models. Because, why? Because, again, I will be giving you another brief introduction to all the points so that you can recapitulate. If you don't remember, you can recapitulate. People who have already heard about the lecture 3, or have listened to lecture 3 and came into this lecture 4, then those people I'm just recapitulating the points. And people who have not yet seen the lecture 3, they can go and just see look into the lecture 3 and then come back to lecture 4. Okay, so it introduced a more comprehensive way to categorize organisms. He based his classification on several key criteria. What was those? First was the cell structure. He first tried to classify organism based on the cell structure, that like either it is prokaryotic or either it is eukaryotic. It can't, both can't be placed into the same group. So if it is prokaryotic, it is bacteria or unicellular models. If it is eukaryotic, then it is not, most probably it is a multicellular in cases. So eukaryotes and prokaryotes, and this eukaryotes, they contain true nucleus. So I'm writing here, it contains true nucleus. Just make a point of it. Take a pen and paper and just make a point of it. First, it contains true nucleus. Second, it contains membrane bound organelles. Please take a note of it so that you can remember it. Third, it contains membrane bound organelles. It contains highly organized genetic material, and these will all be absent in prokaryotes. These will all be absent in case of prokaryotes. Let me select a pen. Okay. Now these will all be absent in prokaryotes. Okay. Absent in prokaryotes. Like prokaryotes will not have a true nucleus. They will not have membrane bound organelles. They will have DNA, but that DNA will just float into the cytoplasm. So prokaryotes will not have all these things. So this was the first basic criteria on which he worked into, and he first classified them and first divided them into the basis of cell structure. Then he came into the body organization. How was the body organized? Either it was unicellular or it was multicellular. So if it was multicellular, if it was more than one cell, then he kept it into the multicellular kingdom, like multicellular. He classified them as multicellular organisms. If it was a single cell, then he kept it as single celled organisms. Then he also took into account the mode of nutrition, how that organism is taking into the food, is making, either it is making food, or either it is taking food from someone else, or either it is eating some other organism. So based on that, he also tried to classify. So the organism either it obtain food, like it might be autotrophic, that is plants are autotrophic, we know they can make food by the process of photosynthesis. Then it can either be heterotrophic, so they can eat other organisms and those are heterotrophic. It can also be saprotrophic. Saprotrophic is like they can depend on some other organisms like saprophytes, or parasites we can tell. So they can depend on other organisms. It can either harm the host and take the nutrition, or they can just stay as a mutual relationship with the host and can take the nutrition. So based on that also he divided the organisms. Now what was the problem? What was the problem it was facing with the earlier classification system? So the system that preceded Whittaker's had significant limitations. So before Whittaker's five kingdom classification came into play, the other classification systems had some significant limitations. So in those limitations, primarily because they relied on a more limited set of criteria, the set of criteria was very limited, often leading to misclassification. The main problem was that many organisms were misclassified. For example, if I talk about the two kingdom system, I'm not talking about the Aristotle system because that was completely omitted. And in his time, microorganisms was not even known. So I'm completely omitting, and it has been completely omitted, and that was not even taken into an account. So starting off with the two kingdom system, that is the linear system, in the year of 1735, this system was the first major attempt. Like Aristotle was the first major attempt, but as that was too much basic, so that doesn't count. So this was the first one as counted into the classification attempts at a formal classification dividing all living things into two, that is plantae and animalia. Problem which what was the problem, but what was the limitation? You can say it as the limitation or the problem. It failed to classify a wide range of organisms that did not fit neatly into either category. For example, fungi were grouped with plants. So fungi, bacteria, everything he grouped it into with the plants. Despite fungi lacking chlorophyll, fungi that do not have chlorophyll, and they also have a different mode of nutrition. For example, fungi is always heterotrophic. They cannot make their own food. But if we talk about plants, they are always autotrophic. They can make their own food. Okay, so this was another system. This was another limitation. Similarly, bacteria and other microorganisms were also difficult to place. He all placed it into the kingdom of plantae. So automatically this was omitted out. Then the three kingdom system, what problem did they face? He although added protista, this system added the protista to include all the single celled organisms such as bacteria and protozoa. But the problem which they faced was that the cell structures were different. Protista included all kinds of bacteria and protozoa, so the cell structures were different. For instance, it placed prokaryotic bacteria which do not have a true nucleus and eukaryotic protozoa which do have a true nucleus. Now see, what's the problem is that they are placing a prokaryotic bacteria which do not have a true nucleus with the eukaryotic protozoa which do have a true nucleus. They are placing prokaryotic bacteria which do not have membrane bound organelles in comparison to eukaryotic protozoa which do have completely membrane bound organelles in the same kingdom. So that was a problem. So even though they have fundamental difference in their cellular organization, so this was the basic problem of three kingdom system, that is the system introduced by Haeckel, Ernst Haeckel. Now coming into the four kingdom system, again the four kingdom system was somehow accepted still till the time period the five kingdom system came into play. So the Copeland system, what he did was that he of course he introduced a new system, Monera, which he did a great job. This new system was introduced for all the prokaryotic organisms. Now all the prokaryotic organisms can um, stay quietly into this Monera system, Monera kingdom, separating them from the eukaryotic protists. Now this problem was now removed from the list, that the previous problem which was they were facing, that prokaryotic organism with eukaryotic protista. So they now were completely satisfied that okay, this Monera system came into play, so now only the prokaryotic organisms will be kept into Monera. So this was a major step forward in recognizing the fundamental difference between prokaryotic and eukaryotic cells. So this was almost this problem was solved. But again a problem arose. What was the problem? It still incorrectly classified fungi. There was no place for fungi. Fungi was not placed into any of the kingdoms. Fungi being non-photosynthetic, they cannot produce their own food and have a unique cell wall composition, were still placed in the plantae kingdom. So this was the another problem still remaining in the Copeland system. So this was the time where Whittaker came into its role. It came into its form, that Whittaker now came into its the main plague background, and he came into the main role, that now okay, now I have to do something and I have to use some parameters which will omit all these kinds of confusion which is created by others. So the parameters, before going into the classification, obviously we have to understand the parameters that Whittaker used. The first parameter that Whittaker used was the cell type. Cell type was that either it would be prokaryote or either it would be eukaryote. So this is the most fundamental distinction that Whittaker did. Prokaryotes are the prokaryotes. He placed prokaryotes into the kingdom Monera. These are organisms whose cells lack a true nucleus. This is the first one. And other membrane bound organelles. This is the second one. Okay. The genetic material is a single circular chromosome lying in the cytoplasm. So this is the third one. Example, it included bacteria and archaea. So he clearly told that okay, now bacteria and archaea lacks a true nucleus, lacks any membrane bound organelles, and also the circular DNA or the chromosome lies in the cytoplasm. So we will place all these into the kingdom Monera. Nothing else will be kept into kingdom Monera. Then he thought about the eukaryotes. In eukaryotes, what he did was that kingdoms like Protista, fungi, plantae, animalia were all placed as eukaryotes. They were considered as eukaryotes because they had all these things which were lacking in prokaryotes. Have cells with a true nucleus that encloses the genetic material, as well as specialized membrane bound organelles. all multicellular organisms are eukaryotes. Okay, you got a clear cut idea about the cell type. Moving on into the cell structure, either it will be unicellular or it will be multicellular. This parameter differentiates between organisms made of a single cell or are more than one cell, that can be two, three, or many. It can either be unicellular, which includes the organisms consist of one cell that performs all life functions such as starting off with metabolism, reproduction, movement, etc. Examples are bacteria and amoeba. Okay. And for example, if we talk about the multicellular organisms, they are composed of multiple cells that are often specialized and organized into tissues, organs, and organ systems to perform different functions. Examples includes plants and animals. Okay, so this one goes with the second one, the cell structure. The third one is another important one, that is the mode of nutrition. Either it can be autotroph, it can be either heterotroph. This criterion separates organisms based on how they get their energy and nutrients. Autotrophs are considered as self-feeders. So self-feeders, they can produce their own food, usually through photosynthesis. If they are using sunlight, then it is photosynthesis, or chemosynthesis if they are using chemical reactions. So it can be either photosynthesis, photo means light, sunlight, and chemo means chemical reactions. So they are producers in an ecosystem. So if we talk about an ecosystem pyramid, they form the base level, that is they are the producers. They are the producers. Plants and some bacteria are autotrophs. Many bacteria are many bacteria are heterotrophs also. So not all bacteria are autotrophs. Okay, some bacteria are mutualistic. So there are different kinds of bacteria, but apart from that, bacteria are autotrophs. Heterotrophs are other feeders which feeds themselves by eating other food, eating other organisms, or taking food from others, cannot make their own food and must consume other organisms or organic matter. This category is further divided into either ingestion or absorption. So if I talk about ingestion, then taking in solid or liquid food and digesting it internally. Digesting it internally. Okay. If you take in the food and if you digest it internally, then it is ingestion. This is the mode of nutrition for animals. Not only animals, even for humans. We also ingest our food. First we take in our food, then our digestive system digests it. But some organisms performs absorption, like they secrete digestive enzymes onto dead or decaying organic matter and then absorb the broken down nutrients. This is a characteristics of fungi, and some bacteria also performs this heterotrophic nature. Then lifestyle. This is the fourth one. Then lifestyle. This is the fourth one. They can be either producer, they can be either consumer, they can be either decomposers. This parameter describes an organism's role in the ecosystem's food chain, directly linking an organism's mode of nutrition to its function. Okay. So, whatever the organism's role in the ecosystem food chain is, it will directly link to the mode of nutrition. So, if they are producers, that means they are autotrophs that form the base of the food chain, creating an organic matter from inorganic sources. If they are consumers, they are heterotrophs and they get their energy by eating other organisms. If they are decomposers, they are also heterotrophs. Specifically, they are saprotrophs that break down dead organisms and waste by recycling nutrients back into the environment. Okay, I hope you're understanding what I'm trying to say. Now, starting off with the kingdom Monera, like the prokaryotes or the kingdom Monera. Now, so this kingdom Monera will be continued into the next lecture. So in this lecture, because if I continue this kingdom monera into this lecture, this video would be too long, and you would be you will eventually lose interest, and you will be bored by seeing so big video. And then apparently you will not understand what is kingdom monera, and all the kingdom systems I will be defining to you. So it's better to keep this as a separate video. So till then, just I have discussed in this particular video as the parameters of that Whittaker used, and also I have told you the problems with earlier classification system that they dealt with, and I have started with of the Whittaker system already. So okay, so from next lecture we will be dealing with each kingdom particularly. So we will get a detailed knowledge about each kingdom itself. Again, I would tell you the main thing that you can go and check out the website biotathya.icu. In this website, enrollment of students are going on, batches are being taken online, so you can go and visit this website, or for admissions you can call or WhatsApp on this number. So see you with a new lecture which will be continued into this lecture series. Okay, till then, take care.